Good morning. My name is Katinka. I'm the seamstress at the cottage and welcome. Over here we talk about sewing and knitting and sometimes a bit of life. But today is Friday sews. So that means I'm going to show you what I've been making, what I am making and what is coming up to be made in the future. Friday sews was a hashtag started by Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room. And if you click on it, you can find a lot of other people making videos about what's going on in their sewing room. So, what has been going on over here? I have been knitting on my cardigan. It is a basic cardigan pattern that I came up with in my head. There's knitting maps, and if you understand knitting maps, then you can work out most things for yourself. So, I have come to the point where I've divided for the sleeves. I started out knitting the sleeves on the magic loop method and it just irritated me. So when I got to this point with both sleeves, I just went over and now I'm knitting one sleeve at a time. And when I'm done, then I can do the bodice. I'm trying to get the sleeves done to see how much yarn I have left over because I have a feeling I am playing yarn chicken. We'll see. But let's talk about this. I just love this color. It's a yarn that I found at JOANS and I cannot remember the name for the life of me. But it's really a lovely combination of alpaca, wool and some tencel. And I love the feel, I love how light it is and I love the way it is knitting up. I will put what I've got at the bottom. So that's just still a slow process. The next thing that I have done, and which I'm really excited about, is this. I made a hoodie out of a quilt. There's a video where I speak about how I made it and the collaboration I had with the lovely Lisa from Freds and Cahoots. So I'll put a link to that as well. Go and watch it if you want to see how I made this. Wait for it. It is totally reversible. So you can wear it both ways. Now for this hoodie, I use this pattern, McCalls M8070. And I use size extra large to cut this out on and it fits me perfectly. This pattern is really a nice beginner friendly pattern and I think if you're starting to sew and you want to make a hoodie, this is a good one to go with. I do love this hoodie. I have been wearing it non-stop. On this side, I gave it a zip and if you open that zip, you get into the pocket. On the other side, I gave it a kangaroo pocket. Now, you can't go wrong with kangaroo pockets in my opinion. And so, I have been living in this hoodie ever since I finished it. I love the kangaroo pockets. I love the way it fits. The only thing I want to do is either add a band at the bottom and give it a drawstring or give it a ribbing. Because I'm going to be cold in winter because it's flaring out. But I am so happy and go over to Lisa from Freds and Cahoots and go and see what she made out of this quilt. So the story of the quilt is I found it at a Goodwill store, cut it in half, sent half to her, I took half and we both made something out of it. The next thing that I have worked on, just a heads up, this I've done over about 2 to 3 weeks because I haven't done Friday sews for a long time. So I also made this top. This top is, let me just find it, New Look S0868 and I made view C. And I really, really like it. It is beautiful. I love this fabric. I found it in a thrift store in Storm Lake City. And it was like an antique place. And they had this fabric there. It was like 1.5 meters. And so I had to add a piece in the back to make it big enough so I could get out the whole top. So I just used some of the fabric and I made sure the grain direction is the same direction and I gave it an inset in the back. And it fits like a charm and I love it. I love the bishop sleeves. In the end, I made the neck much lower than on there. I don't like things too high and I just gave it a tie because I like a little bow detail. Next up, I did McCalls 7969 and I did it in large. And this is just one of my all-time favorite patterns. This pattern I've made, this was the first time I made it, and there is actually a video up. I didn't make it so it go directly to my subscribers if you've subscribed and you've got the bell notification, because I didn't want to overwhelm people. But what I did is I just put all my favorite music together, the playlist I basically listen to when I'm sewing, and I made a video of where I make this. So it's not a close-up or anything, it's just me sewing in the background with music. But it took me 3 hours to make it, and it took about 45 minutes to cut it out. So in total it was 4 hours from the beginning to end. The playlist isn't that long, it's just 2.5 hours, which is still long. But if you sew and you want music in the background, that's actually a very nice one to go and listen to. I love this dress. I love how it fits. And this fabric was sent to me from Lisa from Fred's and Cahoots. And she found it in a second-hand store or something. And she found a whole bolt and she sent me some. And I just love this dress. So I've worn it once or twice already. And I can see it being on rotation for autumn and winter in this coming months. And that is the pattern. And then I made the Ella dress. There's also a video of that up where I show you how I make it. And oh, this linen is beautiful. The style is beautiful. In the end, I went in and I actually used that McCalls pattern that I just showed you. And I used the one she's wearing view A. I used that shape of the sleeve to change it, because originally it had like a bulk thing coming out here, and I just didn't like it. So I like the sleeves much better now. And I want to quickly just touch on this. So this pattern is the one from, let me just take them out. I've made both these dresses. The one is the Ella dress and the other one is the LaFrom dress. So the Ella dress is from Silver Saga Patterns, and it's very expensive, in my opinion. It's like $25 for this pattern. And yes, it takes a lot of time to make a pattern, I understand, and you have to make a living. But the reality is there's a lot of us who can't afford it. The only way I could afford it was because some of you have been supporting me on Ko-fi, and I really try to get to patterns that I won't usually get or fabric that I won't usually get. So this linen was also sponsored by my Ko-fi supporters. Thank you so much for that. And the pattern was, and I love this dress. The one thing is it's very low, and there's a few other things I didn't like that much. But if you can afford it, it's really a very nice dress. But then there's a lot of us who really cannot afford a $25 pattern. And I found this one. It is LaFrom, and the number is 0452, and I will also link it below. I made this dress as well. On my summer plans video, I actually show, or my summer makes video, I show how it looked like. The one thing I didn't like, it's not as flary as the Ella dress, but thinking back, I actually like this one's sleeves better than the Ella dress. And the other thing, the Ella dress, the back is cut straight, so the bias part is on the sleeve, but on the LaFrom pattern, the bias part is on the bodice part. I would change that pattern, just turn it around and actually put the bias part on the sleeve as the Ella dress. The other thing I would do is I would cut and split the skirt pieces and just make them wider, and then you will have the same effect. But overall it is very close. Another thing is the LaFrom pattern, this is higher, so it's not as revealing as the Ella dress. The Ella dress comes really, it's a plunging neckline, and with the LaFrom pattern it's also easier to make it higher. This one, the first time I've seen it on their page, on their Instagram page, was in 2021. And this one, I think the first time, they only came out a year later. So I will say, of my research, I think this one was first. So this one, the LaFrom pattern, is basically $3. It's a bit of a mission. So you have to, because they're in Russia, you have to like do a donation on another platform and then send a link or a photo or a copy of that donation to the lady who does these patterns. I did it on Instagram. It was the easiest. And then from there, you just put your email address and then they email the pattern to you. Both these patterns did not go to very high sizes. The Lefram pattern, I cut the second largest size and it only went one size up. And I think the Lefram pattern, I was also the second largest size. I usually am a size 18 or a 16 and like I had to use the second largest pattern. So it does not go that big. But if you want to make this dress, that is a very good alternative that you can use. So that is all I've been busy with and that I've done in the last while. Let's talk about plans. So in my autumn plans video, I showed you my samples that I am working on. So let's go through them and see what is done. I have finished this one. And I have finished that one and I finished the red linen. So as you can see, there's the brown and the flower one that's still left. So with the flower one, I've cut out and it's ready to be made over there, this dress. I am doing view, let me see what it is, view B, and I've given it a frill to make it longer. And it is M7381 and I'm doing it in that beautiful viscose, flower viscose. And it's ready to go. I can just sew it up. The next one I'm doing is basically this one, view A, the long version, but I'm going to give it pin tucks at the bottom and the bodice I cut straight. And that's also cut out and ready to go. Then in that same brown, I cut out a waistcoat because if you didn't get the memo yet, waistcoats is the way to go this autumn. And I used Burda View B. And what I like, originally I wasn't keen on this pattern, but when I looked at it, they actually give you for a fuller bust and for a smaller bust. And I've never seen this. I mean, this pattern goes from basically a 12 to a 32. And they didn't just upgrade until 32. They actually have two different size patterns in the pattern, in the envelope, which I think is brilliant. And just make sure, sometimes Burda does not have seam allowance, but on the pattern itself, it will tell you if it's got seam allowance. So the 12 to 18 was on the same pattern block, and then the others was on another pattern block, which I thought was brilliant. And like I said, I cut out view B, and it's ready to go. Then I have this one. Now this one, I'm taking a chance. I'm actually going out of my comfort zone. I am making these pants and I cut it on a 16, but I did cut it bigger because I think I'm more like an 18 at the moment. And so these pants are also ready to go. It is the Simplicity S9715. And so that is the rest of my autumn plans that's still there. And then there's a skirt, the Dion skirt that everybody's wearing with the pin tucks and the lace at the bottom. I've used an old tablecloth to cut that one out as well. So I'm excited to get going. This last week was a dud in the sewing department. I got a little bit of a cold and I felt horrible. Had a headache for 5 days. So didn't do much except knitting, because I find that when my head is, I don't often get a headache. So I'm really one of those babies when it gets to a headache. I'm grumpy and I'm irritated, and I took tablets and it would take off the edge, but it didn't take the headache away. The last 2 days is the first time in days where I did not wake up with a headache and go to bed with a headache. So I'm very happy about that. And so I just did knitting, and that is why the sleeves are growing. And yes, that's all my plans and all the things I'm going to work on. I would love to hear what you are working on at the moment, and if you have made any of the patterns I've showed you, I would really like to know how you liked it, because some of the patterns I like more than others. Like this one. It's easy, but those sleeves, remember to give it extra space on here. It's quite tight. So, that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.